Hello and welcome to this edition of Pictures of the Week. Today I want to talk about a specific picture that came to prominence after the awful fire at the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. Now I'm sure most of us remember the images coming in from Paris on the day of the fire. The media gave it extensive coverage and it really did seem that the cathedral would be totally destroyed. However, by the following day, the story had changed from the destruction of the cathedral to large parts of it having been saved. And this remarkable picture by AFP photographer Christophe Petit Tesson, showing the golden cross on the altar surrounded by the charred remains of the roof, featured in newspapers and other media around the world, almost instantly giving it an iconic status. And so I thought today we might take a look at this picture and explore the concept of an iconic image. So, what is an iconic image? An iconic image is one that gets an emotional response from the viewer. In fact, more than that, it draws the same emotional response from many, many viewers. It has a common interpretation, which goes far beyond the simple visual components of the image. The word icon was originally Greek, meaning image, and first comes into Western usage in connection with religious iconography. These icons were images or statues that had religious meaning or represented a religious story. Remember, we're talking about pre-literate times here, when these images were essentially all that most people would recognize from the Bible stories. These icons encapsulated and reinforced a story, whether it was the creation of mankind, the Madonna and Child, or the crucifixion. They were never intended to show a single moment, but to be touchstones for a wider story. As such, they have an intellectual and emotional resonance with the viewer. In fact, they would have had the same meaning for nearly every viewer. Now, it's easy to see how a religious artwork can resonate with the faithful, but how can a modern image become iconic amongst people from all around the world? Well, of course, this image entered the public conscience at a specific moment in the story of the Notre Dame fire, the moment when it seemed that the cathedral might be saved. And as we can see, it was used prominently across the world, and the message accompanying it was similar and hopeful. The mechanics of the distribution of this picture helped too. Christophe is an Agence France Presse (AFP) photographer, and all the newspapers in France would have had access to this on their electronic picture feeds. AFP also supply many of the major news organisations across the globe, and so they would have had instant access to it too. It was also shot by AFP as a pool picture. Now, the photographic pool system operates when many news organisations essentially want the same picture and is used when access is limited. So here, AFP shot the picture and distributed it by agreement to other news picture agencies around the world. So, for example, it would have been given to Reuters and Associated Press to distribute to their customers too, covering the United States, Africa and Asia. So this picture, one of the few professional photographs available from inside the cathedral at the time, was widely distributed to all major news organisations at the same time. And importantly, at the time it was announced that damage to Notre Dame was not as severe as previously thought. Finally, the international agent for AFP is Getty Images, one of the largest independent news and picture agencies in the world. So those organisations who didn't receive the image on their picture feeds would have access to the Getty website and be able to download the image from there. If we look on the Getty website and search for Notre Dame fire, we see that there are over 3,000 pictures on there. Fortunately, Getty offers search filters, and so if we choose Most Popular, which are the most downloaded images in this search, then versions of this picture pop up very close to the top of the search results. Now, being easy to find is very useful because every picture editor will want to have this picture to hand, and that's because their editors will have seen it in other media, and because other newspapers and magazines have used it, they will want to use it as well. And so this further usage will extend the life of the image in the public memory. Of course, the religious imagery in this picture helped too. Despite France being officially a secular country, it is still, like most of Europe, culturally Christian. And the symbolism of the golden cross in the wreckage of the altar is simple and powerful. If there'd been a painting from the life and times of Christ or a picture of the saints here, then the simple message might have been muddled. But to Christians, the cross represents both death and renewal. Now, this is not the first time a religious building has stood against the flames. In London in 1940, St Paul's Cathedral was photographed by Herbert Mason of the Daily Mail during a bombing raid by the Luftwaffe. With the surrounding streets ablaze, this picture showed the dome of St Paul's standing out against the smoke and the darkness. Interestingly, the picture wasn't published immediately. Britain was at its lowest ebb. 1940 had seen the retreat at Dunkirk and a number of other military setbacks. British censors were not sure if this picture, representing a series of bombing raids which had killed thousands of people, would inspire Londoners or not. Finally, 2 days later, the Daily Mail ran it on their front page, and the iconic image of the dome standing above the swirling smoke of destruction instantly came to represent the courage and defiance of Londoners and the country as a whole. But let's go back to this picture by Christophe Petit Tesson of the altar in Notre Dame. Does it actually meet the requirements of an iconic image? Well, it has been ubiquitous over the past few weeks and is instantly recognisable. It is visual confirmation of the limited damage of the fire and no doubt will be in the public mind for some time. After all, it will take at least 5 years for the cathedral to be fully repaired. This picture will no doubt feature in Pictures of the Year articles in newspapers and magazines this year, and is one of the news pictures of the decade. And it does have the advantage over video footage in that it can be closely examined and analysed by the readers, allowing them to see for themselves that the cathedral is safe. But perhaps more importantly, this picture came to the world with a collective sigh of relief, with news that the cathedral would survive and could be rebuilt. And so it triggers similar memories and emotions for nearly everyone around the world who witnessed the fire. And remember, Notre Dame itself is an icon of secular France in its own right and visited by millions of people every year. So I think that this image will quickly become associated with hope and renewal, not just with Notre Dame and not just with the faithful.